What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of our MLX signature series stage design walkthrough. So where we left off, we kind of have this staggered look going on and we're gonna kind of refine this look a little bit more, and then we're probably gonna get into some band plot stuff. And something that I was thinking about is most of the time we need to account for a screen. So I think we're gonna touch on band plot in terms of like, let's figure out how to get access to the stage, as well as adding in, we're gonna refine this look a little bit more, and then we're gonna add in some video elements, and then we're gonna kind of see where we're at with that. And then we might be in a position to kind of move on to some paperwork and maybe even some patching and some label legend type stuff. So let's start first with kind of refining this look. And something that we're also going to do is, these are just sort of floating in air, and that defies gravity. So we're gonna need to add rigging and account for that. So we're gonna touch on that. So refine this look, we're gonna add some video stuff, and then we'll see where we land. We'll see where we land at that point. Cool, so let's, I kind of like this look. I wanna refine this spacing a little bit more. So let's look into these R2s here, and we're going to move this over. Actually, before we start too far into this, what I'm gonna do is save as, and I want to save this as episode 2. That way if something happens to the recording, we can just kind of start over. You don't have to undo a bunch of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to land this fixture kind of right next to this. So yeah, that's fine. What that red light is telling you is, like, it's basically you can add lights as a load to a truss. We don't want to do that with this. So we're just going to move this kind of a foot off, or what we're going to do, we're going to select these. This is what we're going to do. Select these. Go to lights, or excuse me, line and distribute. And we're going to actually do our evenly inside points made. And to get the biggest spread, I'm gonna go to the outside of the truss, and I'm gonna land that there. And I think that's gonna actually fill in our negative space nicely. Same deal, grab these, outside truss. Boom. Like that at all. What we're going to do is select our fixtures again. Select, and then what we're going to do is let's close that out. So we kind of know where we're gonna land with this. Let's actually add our rigging, because that's going to give us some good points to land these in between where we actually want them. So what we're gonna do, and this is what I do, we're gonna go top, and yeah, so we did the align, so it's all kind of messed up there. We're gonna grab so I don't actually use the pipe tool. There is a pipe tool. I don't do that. I just make a square. I'm gonna zoom way in. So what I do is, so 1.5 inches is kind of your standard diameter for theatrical pipe. So what I'll do is 1.5 inches, Control C, Control V, so just copy paste that into that one. So now I have a square that is the dimension of, you can use any sort of like, Light Source has one that's like aluminum, but also Schedule 40, 1.5 inch pipe, black pipe is typically pretty standard. So 1.5 inches, I have an 1.5 inch square here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually model and extrude this. And 1.5 inch pipe comes in standard. You can get them from like Ferguson Plumbing, but just about any place. But it's kind of a standard 21 foot. So 21 foot pipe is threaded on both ends. So if you buy it, it's 21 feet and you got to cut it. And then, which means it leaves you with one end or two ends, depending on what you need to cut, with either one thread or no threads. So something to be aware of. I'm going to do 10 feet. And we're going to go front, and we're going to see what this does for us. Yeah. Let's actually, so a couple things we can do is we can say, okay, let me extrude this out to 21 feet and just see where that lands. Because that's probably going to be, yeah, just short enough to be annoying. So like a quick fix for this would be, let's move everything kind of like, let's move our towers in a foot, which honestly, like if we're balling on a budget, that's probably what we're gonna do. So we're gonna grab our outside. Let's grab all of our stuff too, our fixtures as well. And we're gonna just Control Shift in a foot. And that is definitely enough to at least get a cheese burrow, but we can see it's like right on the edge. So we'll be able to get 2 cheese burrows or swivel clamps, depending on where you're at in the world, right on those, that truss. So we can get, the idea here is to get essentially 6 points of connection, but you can get by with 2 here in the middle, 1 here, probably, you know, on this point. But just trying to get at least a connection on here. Doing 2 here wouldn't really matter too much. Great. So we got our pipe there. We're going to Control C, Control V that. And depending on what we want to do, like, okay, if we buy, you know, 2, the other thing we need to do, so we moved both of these in 1 feet. This distance from here, so where's my tape measure? So we only moved, so this distance in, which is actually 10 feet, but this distance is still 11 feet. So if that, you know, symmetry matters to you, it's still symmetrical because it's mirrored on the other side. But in our case, what I would like to do is actually make sure all of these are straight, even 10 feet. That can help on load in of say, hey, there's 5 of them, they're 10 foot apart from each other. So put one in the center, do 10 feet out, 10 feet out, versus saying this is 10 feet, this is 11 feet. It's just little things like that that can help you on a load in, just to kind of make everything the same. So what we're gonna do here is we're actually gonna make this, so if we buy 2 21-foot pipe, so then we make the extrusion 10.5 inches. So 10 feet, 6 inches. That's gonna give us pretty much exactly what we need. We might actually, that's really tight. So we're not doing too much weight on here. So as long as we are able to get 1 cheese on each, ideally you're getting 4, so that way there's basically 4 points, and if there's any bow, it actually has some more rigidity. But I think we can get by with, since we're not doing too much weight and we're gonna spread that weight out closer to the truss side, we're okay, and it's only basically a 10-foot span. We're actually okay with this. So, and again, we're trying to be somewhat budget conscious. Saying, okay, we're gonna buy 2 10-foot. We're gonna, you know, get the cheese and everything. Something that you can also do on your drawing, particularly if you're like, this is Tyler truss, which is pretty standard, but you can try your best to ensure you're landing in a place where you're not going to run into some cord issues. So you kind of see these cross beams, those are called chords. So on site, particularly if you're not really if you're not thinking about it and you need to be super surgical with your pipe placement, it can be really really annoying if you didn't really think about that and then you're constantly running into chords, particularly when you already have everything built and you're like, you know what, if we were to rotate this, we would be able to do X, Y, Z or whatever. So in this particular instance, so as we can see, we've got like some opposite going on. We might, let me actually look at, oh no, that's just the truss. Never mind, that's the truss. I thought some of these were like flipped if we mirrored some of them or whatever. So, which is great because now we can look at where our chords actually fall and we can say, okay, we're gonna land a pipe here. And then we're gonna land, let's actually make these on the same plane because they need to be the same height. We're gonna grab those. We're gonna say, okay, we're gonna land a pipe. So you can see objects nudged down there. That's just shift up and down, left, right, whatever. That's just nudging it a little bit. Like there's not a set distance. Whereas control shift up, down is that custom distance that we have set at 1 foot. So we're gonna look at the front here and we're kind of just judging height a little bit. And for now, I think we're gonna call that good. So do a little bit of housekeeping here. We're gonna select our pipe. So we have rigging upstage truss, that's 01 underscore rigging. We're gonna do a new class, 01 underscore, oops, rigging dash pipe. So now we have our pipe underneath the rigging side of things. I also don't think we add, oh, we did. Oh no, that's separate lighting. So again, some housekeeping stuff here as well. I'm gonna grab this, 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 and this. And we're going to do a new class. 1, 2, 3, 4. 04 underscore lighting. And then I like to do the manufacturer. So these are Chauvet Force, MK2 spots. MK2 spot. Great. And then we're gonna grab these. I think these are MK2 washes as well, or R2X washes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yep. New class, 04, underscore, hit caps lock. Lighting dash Chauvet underscore R2X wash. Great. Great, so we have our lights and everything. So if we need, when we make our views and all that, it's gonna help us. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our top plan, because we're going up here to Resource Manager, and I just type in cheese, and it usually pops up. And there's multiple angles. So rigging, swivel, 90 degree, that's what we want. So we're gonna grab this, and we're gonna drag it into our drawing. I like to just preserve folder hierarchy. So we have our cheese burrow here. We're gonna go left. So why this matters, because sometimes it's like, no, I'm just gonna put cheese burrows, I'm gonna hang pipe. Why it matters to actually go through and go, okay, this is where I want things. So when you're rigging uprights like this, particularly when you have a dynamic load like movers, you want to think about, so you have basically 12 inches right here, right, with truss, and it's 10 feet in the air with a dynamic load on the top. So what we want to avoid is saying, oh, okay, we're gonna put this here, we're gonna put pipe here, and then we're gonna put basically a fixture here. Well, that load, yes, it's like above where the base is, but it's on the front end of it. So as that thing moves around, all of that movement is happening and it's pulling this direction. So what we want to avoid is front loading or rear loading these uprights. So what we're gonna do to help like combat that is we're actually going to land our cross beams inside the truss. So what we're gonna do, top, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our cheese burrow and we're gonna land this on that inside upstage, like on stage, upstage cord, main cord, which is right here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna select our pipe and we're gonna move that loci right into the middle of that pipe. So what that now gives us is we know exactly where we're gonna put that cheese burrow, as well as with, you know, obviously this is like pending we're using exactly these trusses, but this gives us a general idea of, we know that we can put this cheese burrow right here. We're not gonna impede on any sort of cordage. We have a little bit of room, and we know that it's gonna go on the inside of the truss, and that pipe is gonna land, it's not gonna land exactly center, you know, center of gravity, but it's gonna be more center and more over that center point, which is gonna basically keep our uprights as stable as possible. Great. So essentially what we're trying to do is kind of center up this 10 foot, this 10 foot. We've got all of our cheese represented. So now we have something that actually mimics reality. We don't just have fixtures floating in space. Okay, cool. So we have our spacing, and something to think about. This is like kind of a design preference. So we, instead of having like an evenly distributed linear kind of look, we've kind of established this like staggered look, but also these are not evenly, you know, spaced between in this negative space. And some of that isn't necessarily a design choice. One of the things that I was just a little bit of advice was, stage design is all about problem solving. And one of the things that I could see a potential problem, particularly this is like in a house of worship stage, is we're gonna have basically like we're gonna have drums on this side or this side, probably gonna have a guitar here, maybe some keys here. So if we go with like a super even spacing versus kind of giving these gaps a little bit, we're not really creating or accounting for space for those that, you know, those people to live, or those, you know, those objects basically to live in Vectorworks world. I know they're people, but in this case they're objects. So so if like drums is here, it's probably going to be covering up a good bit of those fixtures. It's still going to be covering them up, but when we space them out and kind of create these gaps, it gives these lights a good fighting chance to kind of get out, but also put them in a good position to be able to provide key light versus just being blocked entirely. So we're gonna roll with this. This is pretty good spacing. We're gonna look left again because we need to move our lights back onto to the correct plane. So we're gonna land these here because we have some adjusting to do. So we've got some good spacing. We got good, like you might hear me say on here, we've got good bones. Bones means the foundation's really good. What we need to do now is we've got to think about where we're going to place. So we've got, you know, a light here, but we have a screen that needs to go up here. You know, make some adjustments when we have to account for maybe some new information, maybe some new parameters. So it's not an LED, it's projection. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our audio video, and then we have just this video screen tool, and there's a blended one as well, but we're gonna just stick with the video screen. And my resource manager is covering it up. So we can just drop this down and we can edit properties later, but let's go ahead and look at our preferences rather. So let's go and look at our preferences here. And this is kind of the same information that's gonna populate over here in the right. But yep, it's gonna be a front projection. It's gonna be 16:9 aspect ratio. our stock size, 9 foot by 16. So 9 feet tall. And let's just say like, nope, it's a much bigger screen. We're gonna go with a 10 foot by 18 foot. And then there's some other pieces in here that we can kind of get into, but let's go ahead and hit OK. And we're gonna go to our top plane. So what you can see is it's going to show you basically the cone of projection, the screen and the projector. And again, here's our 0. I wanna click and then double click to play, or click again to place it. So when we look at it, we have basically a cone of projection, and then our projector. Well, in this case, I don't want this, like the projector and the cone of projection, to be represented. Because like I don't want to see that, and I don't want anybody seeing the drawing who's going to see the drawing to go, is that where the projector is going? That's not the right projector. Because again, you never know who's going to see these drawings and might have questions that are not relevant. So what we want to do is we don't want to see the projection cone, and we don't want to see the projector, because that throw distance is going to be different, and it's going to be something that we're going to figure out later. All we want to see is the screen, right? So we know that we're about 10 feet 2 inches up with a light on top. So that distance is probably going to be like 10.8, somewhere around in there, or excuse me, 12 feet. Is this 12 foot? No, it's 10 foot. Oh no, wow, that's a tall fixture. 12, what did I say, 10 feet? Yeah, it's not an 8-inch fixture. All right, so from the bottom of the truss to the top of the fixture is basically 12, we'll just call it 12.5 feet. So we know that the bottom of this needs to at least be 12 feet 6 inches from the ground, which I think this takes it from the middle. Oh, no, it's great, it takes it from the bottom. Awesome, so we know that the screen needs to be right there. Great, that's nice, that's good. And this is gonna be a screen that is going to be, it's gonna be hung. There's some steel up there, and the screen's gonna be hung. Let's just say everything's gonna be. So we have our we have our screen accounted for. We have our truss. Now, let's just say somebody comes and goes, oh, no, the screen has to be 10 feet off the ground. The bottom of the screen has to be 10 feet off the ground. Okay, all right, no problem. So the bottom of the screen is 10 feet. Well, what we see is we go, oh shoot, well, our lighting can't be right there. So we either have to make a decision. We either have to take this light away, and then as is, we can look at the, so we're just gonna delete that MK. We're gonna go left. We go, okay, this is like right in the same plane. So this truss can't be there because it literally needs to land right in the same plane. Okay, that's not a huge deal. We're gonna go back to our truss. We've swapped our truss out, and we're also gonna just grab that base and we're gonna regroup that. But we do have a problem here. This stick is not high enough. So the easy thing is we just say, okay, well, we're just gonna lower this down, which not terrible, but we want this to be up here. Like we want this this height, right? Because we want like the screen, and this frames this in really nice. But like we've now lost our center support. What we're gonna do is we're already taking up the truss already has a light on top of it, right? So we can't extend up and hit this. But what we might be able to do is extend pipe, and this is where pipe is really nice to have, and why it matters to have everything in place is we can probably rotate back onto our truss front, and then we're going to bring this up, land that there. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn our MK2 spots back on, because what we want to make sure is saying, okay, if I were to bring a pipe right up next to this, am I going to hit this fixture? So on paper, when we look at this, we go, oh yeah. Like it's not hitting that, it's clearing it, it's not hitting the base. Well, this thing rotates. That thing spins around. So when it boots up, it runs through everything. So it's definitely, this snout is definitely gonna hit this pipe. So that's where we go, okay, maybe we ditch that. Maybe we go back to our 10-foot stick and, you know, just kind of add that support back in. And then we just run this as a spare. That's a great option. So the reason why I'm kind of going through this process is this is giving you, instead of doing this on the show site or during load-in and going, we just got to kind of figure it out on site, you can actually figure this out right now. So you're able to go, okay, if we drop this down, if we want to move this, and this is all in the same plane because we can't move that because we can't move our hang points. These are clear, which is fine. You know, I'm going to have some sort of support in the middle here, just because of the parameters that we're going in, and we don't particularly have any additional budget to throw at rigging. So we're just gonna roll with this. And so now it becomes a question of, okay, if this has to be at 10 feet, well, we're running into, this is, what is that, an inch, 2 inches? Can it be 10 feet, 3 inches? Let's look at that. Because that's right on top of that. Yeah, I think that looks fine. And we definitely have the room up here. We just don't have another 4 feet to go up with, you know, or 2 feet rather with the additional light. So that's where we go, yep, okay, that looks good. We've kind of gone through the motions and really try to figure out how to make that happen with the amount of lights that we have. And what it can also do, a lot of this process can also be discussion, you know, topics of discussion. So it's saying, okay, well, you know, if it has to be here, we only have one left because we only bought 8. Can we buy another one? And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, obviously the cheapest solution is this is what we already have. We're going to raise this 3 inches up. We're going to have a MK2 as a spare, you know, spot fixture as a spare, and then we'll roll with everything else. Everything else is looking good. And then it becomes like, yeah, we can buy another one or whatever. I think for this particular situation, we're going to go ahead and roll with that. So yeah, we're going to call this episode to good here. And we didn't quite get to band plot or anything like that. But yeah, and then we'll also kind of cover, you know, so if we go into shaded view, so this is Vectorworks, how do we get, like, maybe we want your church logo or something on there. We'll cover that in episode 3. But for now, this is actually looking pretty good. Something that I will do real quick, this will be kind of the last thing. We're gonna grab our fixtures and we're gonna do focus lighting devices. And we're gonna do, so you see the red circle, we're gonna just tilt them, let's do 90. And then, yeah, as we go through, like, you're not really gonna see them too much, but that way we can at least kind of see them moving. This is looking good. This is looking good. This is a good start to our stage design. So we're gonna place band and kind of do some other kind of fun stuff with in episode 2, or excuse me, in episode 3. This is episode 2. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.